1-2 premium account on X. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that at all. 1-2. Mic check 1. Let me check my my settings real quick. Make sure that I can be heard. Mic check 1-2. Yeah. Have a great show. 1-2, 1-2. Mic check 1-2. I think I'm going to do that. Let's see. One more time. Yeah, 1-2. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I don't know how well we're gonna do with this, but we're gonna go ahead and broadcast it, and hopefully it'll come out fairly decent. This is Jamil Salib Zamir out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment of the 19 Report and Community Candid. As promised, I would come on with commentary about politics and delving into politics, especially local politics. I'm talking South Carolina politics. So I'm going to go over a few things today, but I'm not going over these things as the know-all to end-all, as the guy that just know everything about politics, because I don't. But I've been studying it for a while, and one thing that I dislike is when people come on the, not necessarily on the air, but when you talk to people and they say, when I get my money right, I'm going to tell people about this, or when I get my life right, I'm going to tell people about that. What if you never get your life right? What if you die before you get your life right? What if something happens in the meantime? So I believe firmly that once you get a grasp of something, you should share it. Let me check this thing one more time. That's at 92. I just don't want to yeah. So I believe that you should share information and just put it out there on social media. Everybody's doing everything, so we can do this as well. So I want to get into the political scene a little bit today, and it will get more specific, more particular as I begin to broadcast more this year. I mean, this month up until November, because there's some things that I feel like I need to say, but I'm trying to be cautious about it. So I thank anyone that will tune in on Instagram. I hope that is coming out. I thank anyone that will tune in on Facebook. We're on 3 platforms. That's the 19 Report, the Music Man, and Jamil Salib Zamir. We're also on on Linked, and I'm quite sure there are more people on Linked that know more about politics than I do. And we're also broadcasting on YouTube. X has required that we have a premium account in order to broadcast live on X, and we're not going to broadcast live. I'm not paying anybody for anything that's social media related, because you don't benefit any more by paying these monthly fees than you do by just doing it organic. When I see proof that you're benefiting more from paying, then maybe that will be a good investment. So I thank everyone for tuning in, and I hope I'm coming out clear. We're going to talk politics today. For about 30 or 40 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit of politics, because my concern is that people are not fully aware of the political arena. And I made a promise 3 years ago that I would try to get deeper into politics and comprehend politics better, so that I would be able to share my understanding with the people, so that those in political positions will no longer be able to get over on people by appealing to their emotional side, or getting them drawn into personality cults. Now, we all know who the candidates are here in South Carolina. So you talking Kevin Johnson, I think Jeff Zell, Quadre Bell for Senate. who else is running? Fawn Pedalino. Uh, Also, we have local positions of city council and county council. And from a city council standpoint, I've noticed that some of the areas where I grew up as a child, who are supposedly overseen by people who grew up in the area, I've noticed that those areas, the roads, the sides of the roads, appear to not have changed at all since we were children. So I think Mr. Duke is in Tent City across town. I mean, Lincoln Park. And then you have the other gentleman that lives at the foot of the road across town. And from my understanding, he may be retiring this year. But what have these people brought to the table for the community? And why do we continuously vote blindly for them, as if though we're doing them a favor in hopes that they will reciprocate and do us as citizens a favor? And are they doing us a favor? So this year we want to vote intelligently. And for anyone that comes on to my broadcast, go ahead and tell Kevin, go ahead and tell Kim, go ahead and tell Jeff Zell, go ahead and tell Fawn. That's not my concern. My concern is for the people who vote these people into positions in hopes that these people will help with our communities. Whatever your job title holds, do that. But over the years, I've found that, and even in this poison and volatile political season, it's more about personal things. And everyone is playing sides. And the most dangerous position that you can be in as a politician or as a citizen in a political season is to be partisan. And what partisan means, you can look it up for yourself, is that if you are a Democrat, you are a hardcore Democrat. You don't look to work with anybody else but Democrats. And if you have constituents or you have people in your community who are asking you to do something and you don't do it, and they begin to lean towards a Republican or someone else, you will work harder on destroying them than you will on doing the thing that you should have done in the beginning. I'm gonna give you an example. There is a person that's running for a county council seat, which I pray he doesn't get. But only God is in control of that. And people with knowledge will know what to do and what not to do. And we're going to talk Democrat and Republican today to try to clarify the two. But in the Democratic Party, if you are a Democrat, you believe more in as much government assistance as possible. And that's why most Black people vote Democrat, because we want the government subsidies, you can say handouts, you can say what do they call it, the Section 8, the food stamps. There's grants out there for helping poor Blacks and Black communities. If you mention words like poor, drugs, drug abuse, sex traffic, gangs, ghettos, or helping or green or anything dealing with going green, in the Democratic Party, they take advantage of grants. They take advantage of government subsidies that they can utilize. By utilizing your ignorance as a Democrat, they utilize that. They get these grants, they hire people in positions and create jobs. But the only way these jobs are continuously funded is that they must keep you in the condition that you are in. I'm going to say that again. And if I'm wrong about anything, then challenge me on it and I'll go and study some more. But I'm not offended by you saying I don't know what I'm talking about. I've studied politics for 4 years. I've never been in the political arena. I never liked politics. But I realized that local politics is something that we as a people must become intelligent in, and we must begin to utilize our vote as a weapon. So now you got these Democrats who appear to be partisan. They don't want to work with anyone outside of of their belief system. I was fond of Kevin and Kim. I voted for Kevin. I voted for Kim. But somewhere in the mix of that, when I started voicing my opinions about politics, it seems we got into some type of conflict that I'm not fully aware of. So I met Kim up. We spoke about this before, but I met her. I bumped into her at an event in Summoning. She wasn't talking to me. I'm wondering what the problem is. So me being who I am, I'm asking her, what's the problem? I said, I voted for you. What is the problem? Well, I heard that you did such and so. And since that point, when I used to ask Kevin could he donate to this or help me with that, he had no problem with it. But all of a sudden now, there's a problem with it. Now you have a right to feel how you feel. Me personally, if you're doing your job, you don't have to like me. If you're doing your job in the position that you are in, I don't have a problem with voting for you again, because I voted for Kim and I voted for Kevin. I'm saying these names because every time I talk, you all think that I'm talking about these particular people. And I have no problem. If I think that you're listening, that we're having a back and forth conversation, I have no problem with talking to anyone face to face. Anybody that knows me knows that. I don't like anything to frighten me but God. Anything else, I want to confront it, tell it how I feel, and whatever comes after that, I pray God gives me the strength to deal with it. I pray that sincerely. So I'm not approaching this in a funny way. I'm going to talk about all of the candidates. I'm going to talk about Republican and Democrat, but I want you all to understand the importance of your vote. And I want to break, by God's permission, and only God can do it, the spell of personality cults and thinking that you must vote black or you must vote this person in order to achieve the or get the opportunity to get the those things that you're asking for from your candidate. And I realize that most people don't even think that they're supposed to ask for anything from candidates once they're voted into office. But most white folks know different. We're going to talk about this. So when it comes to the Democratic Party, they get subsidies, and they get grants and stuff from the government. And that's how the Democratic Party operates. But in order for this to continue and for their job to continue on until retirement in a lot of situations, they must keep the ghetto the ghetto. Because if the ghetto becomes sophisticated, then they can no longer get money because there's no longer a need for the programs that they claim to be offering. This is from the Democratic side. We're talking about Democrats and Republicans in particular, and we're talking about the poison of partisan politics. And partisan politics says, if you ain't with me, I don't care what happens to you. In fact, you heard on a video, which I think was kind of tasteless, that was posted up of Senator Kevin saying, did you vote for me? Did you vote for me? If you didn't vote for me, that was a powerful statement to me. Because you're saying that I can't have the power of choice. And if I choose to vote for someone else, rather they win or lose, you're not going to utilize the powers that you were voted in to utilize. You're not going to utilize them for everybody. You're going to utilize them for the people that you think voted for you or the people that are on your team. That's partisan government. That's dangerous. That's almost tyrannical. Megalomaniac type, plutocrats, dangerous. Because if you look closely at the team of people who are in partisan government, they all are together, they all advance in the town, they all hang together. You are never a part of that. But the thing about God that is great, God promises that he will put you in the private meetings of those who have nefarious motives. Now, I don't know all about politics. I don't have a problem against any of the people in political positions, with the exception of you not doing what you're supposed to. So when you're looking at the Democratic Party, you're looking at people who utilize, in most cases, the ignorance of the people in order to finance their lifestyle, their life, their retirement. So they always have to feel like they're helping someone, but they help you by understanding how to write grants, how to appeal for money for government subsidies and government programs, and then they put themselves at the head of these programs. And the detriment of that is that the people, Black people, poor whites, poor Mexicans, we stay in a mentality of a child. We stay needing something from the people who have the supply. And as long as there is supply and demand, they'll never go broke. As long as there is a desire, a demand for drugs, the drug dealer will always have money. As long as there's a desire for drugs and crime, we'll always need police. As long as we need police, we'll need judges. As long as we need judges, we need lawyers. So there's a cycle of things that sometimes we don't want to end. Some of us. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't misconstrue nothing. Don't take out of context nothing. I'm saying what I'm saying. And if I made a mistake, God willing, I will correct it later. So you see in Democratic majority cities and towns, the schools are jacked up. Most of the areas are jacked up. It's crime ridden. You find a bunch of churches around, a bunch of liquor stores, just anything that can be written off as a way to get a grant, loan, make more money. And they literally make jobs out of thin air because there's these sources of government money that are available for those who know how to get it. Believe it or not, but a lot of politicians got more PPP money than the average person. I'm a small business owner. They denied me 3 times. But some of these politicians got 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. And many of your Democratic politicians, I'm talking your mayors and your senators and your councilmen, utilize that money, thousands of dollars, and utilize their power to know houses that were under tax liens. And they took that government money and either they paid off their house or they purchased a bunch of tax lien homes. And a lot of these politicians, I know it for a fact because it happened next door to me. A house was stolen up from under a young lady. They leaving notes on her door, literally threatening her, scaring her, terrifying her to move so they can take possession of the home. This is how they operate, like a Gestapo. That's partisan politics. And so you got this group of people who all agree that we're going to use the ignorance of the masses of the people. And as long as we stay a unit, they'll never be the wiser because the average person only wants to be a part of something. We're talking Democrat and Republican. We're delving into politics. So now I'm going to get off the Democratic horse for a minute and get on the Republican side. Republicans are like the final frontier of arrogance, most of them. Their idea of a great America is to make things like they used to be. But most Republicans, some have morals, some have a conscience, but most don't. It's a money grab and it's a money game. When it comes to the Democrats, we are like babies. We need these EBTs. We need these monthly checks. We need jobs. But Republicans, most of them have built jobs. Most of them have cornered the market on either plumbing, construction, land ownership. Most of them are doctors and lawyers, positions that can't be touched unless you are a lettered person. And unless you are allowed in. So the Republicans are saying we want less government control. Less government control amongst democratic society means that there will be no more of these funds that make you all walk around thinking that you're rich because you're on Section 8, which is nothing wrong with that when you're starting out, because you're on Section 8 and you have extra money in your pocket, so you can go buy a nice car or buy drugs and flip the drugs. And most of y'all getting switches now for your guns and all of this extra stuff. Well, these are people who say less government control, but taking out government control from a people who are out of control is like allowing an 8-year-old child to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. Whoever is the toughest becomes the bully. So the Republican Party is saying, most of them, we could care less about what is affecting you and your community. We want America back the way it was. And if you can't deal with that, too bad, so sad for you. Most Republicans. The trick of the Republican Party is that most of them pretend to be Democrats because they can utilize the government incentives to get the contracts for these hotels, motels, stores, bridges, all of these things under what is called minority loans or minority grants, because there are 3 minorities. There's the white woman, she's a minority. This is fact. The black man is a minority. The black woman is a minority. The white man is not a minority, so he uses his white woman to get the money and the grants and the resources that he needs to advance him back to the top of the family chain. Black women get the money and they start saying that they don't need no man. So black women got all the college degrees and you're paying back the loans. Some of you got grants, but most of you got loans. You're paying them back. But it separated your family. It made you think that you were better than this black man who goes to get the loan, like I went to get the PPP loan and was rejected as a black man because they asked you on the paperwork, what is your ethnicity? You tell them you done blackballed. So the Republican Party in South Carolina, a lot of the Democrats are really secret Republicans who utilize the Democratic Party's method of getting money, finances, and high positions to retire on. I guess that's all right if that's the way things work. I guess. I don't know. But the danger of that is there always has to be a sacrifice in it. Now, I know some Democrats whose heart is in it and they give their all. I know police whose hearts are in it. I know firemen whose hearts are in it. I know lawyers whose hearts are in it. I know a lot of people and their heart is in it. But here's the thing about God and politics. If you don't study it and you don't ask God for assistance out of it or assistance in understanding it, you get what you get. If you want to be a slave, be a slave. If you want to be ignorant, be ignorant. Because we love to use pseudoscience and ignorance as a means to act intelligent instead of acting out things that will benefit us in the long run, which is the vote. So South Carolina is a Republican state, a red state. So in our minds, we're thinking if we can vote in more Democrats, we can bet we'll win. But what good is a quote unquote Democrat with a Republican mindset? What good is a Democrat who wants to do worse to you than the Republican Party? Look up the word partisan and then look up the word bipartisan. Bipartisan government is when whoever is in office, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or monkey, they say we must work together for the good of the people. That's bipartisanship. That's bipartisan politics. That is what you need. But South Carolina, Manning in particular, some in the surrounding areas, is not that. This is partisanship. If you're not with us, you are against us. Last time I went to vote, I voted for a Republican in one of the races. And when I mentioned that at the firehouse, man, they looked down on me like I was a dog. I felt so uncomfortable. You mean to tell me I can't make a choice on who I think is the best candidate to vote for? I'm seen with taking pictures with Fawn Petalino up at the church down the street next to the old corner store at a Republican rally. And when I go to the Democratic rally, they start using comments like, we might have spies among us. Y'all not important enough for me to spy on you. Everything that I need is on the internet. There's a thing called Freedom of Information Act. If I want to know who owns property, I can Google search it, Google satellite search it, and find out who owns the property. I don't need to sit in your Democratic meetings to spy on you for what? I come to meetings to learn, and I don't like being uncomfortable, and I have a right to be there, a right to assemble. It's a freedom of the people, a constitutional right that you violate as partisan political candidates. You violate the people. You terrorize them. If you don't vote Democrat, it's going to get rough for us. It's already rough for us. Most people don't understand how really rough it is because they don't watch the news. And if they do, they watch the wrong news. They don't watch the stocks. They don't watch the market. They don't know what's really going on. But God has put some of us in positions to know what's really going on to a degree. So you got your Democrat who wants government control because they benefit from it. You look up and down Sumter, in Sumter, and you see all of these churches with all these big buildings, and all you don't understand how they get them. Look into how they get them. Look into how they get them. Crime is big business. Poverty is big business. If there's no poverty, there's no need for a Department of Social Services, or jobs are made. Sickness is big business. It's not going to stop. That's how this world is going to end, by greed. Greed is going to destroy. Greed is destroying it. So I want to go into a few things, and then I'm going to close. And if you have any questions, that's fine. If you have any comments, and if you want to say, man, won't you shut up? That's fine. You know I'm not going to do that. But I will say this. The climate is very violent. And I know you all think that it's just Donald Trump who's violent or appear to be violent. But the Democratic Party is just as violent. You don't know how this thing is playing out. This is a dangerous arena. Democrats will destroy your life as quickly as a Republican. Now, let me ask you a question, honestly. You got Democratic parties whose family are in political positions, and they get offended when you speak about their family, right? Think about this for a minute, really hard. But then they sit down at a table and plot how to use all of the people to benefit their family. That means they use my family. They use your family. And see, we are so weak mentally and spiritually that we don't even know how to fight for our families. We think fighting means coming outside with guns. That's the easy fight. Because either you're going to kill somebody, you're going to miss, or you're going to die. That's the easy part. But they made that appear to be a difficult thing. Ain't nothing to pulling out a gun and shooting it. But there's something to studying politics and how these political candidates work. When they say they're going to do something, did they do it? And if they did it, how did it benefit the people? So you got Republicans, Democrats concerned with their constituents, their party, but not the people. The people are pawns in this political arena, this sick game of who should be in control. Now, in the midst of the sickness, there are some people who will do their very best. I'm still running for a school board seat in August. I'm going to file the paperwork, God willing, God spare my life, because it's been rough on me. I want to end this with something that happened to me on Sunday, and I want to thank somebody for what they did to save my life. But I'm still running for that seat. I'm not intelligent enough to just go in and do things. I would be just listening and learning for the next 2-3 years. But one thing I promise you is a clear view of what's happening and a clear view of how I understand what's happening. Because an ignorant person cannot expect the results of an intelligent person. Ignorance, Jesus says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But ignorance can't set you free. Ignorance gives you the illusion that you are free. So because we can join gangs and all of these violent things, we think we're free, but we're not. That's ignorance. And because we vote for these politicians, I remember when Barack Obama first got into office and they interviewed a black lady crying. She said, I was about to lose my house, but now that Barack Obama is president, I know my house is safe. That's ignorance. But it's sad ignorance. It's nothing to make fun of. So I want to go into a few things. Democrats utilize government, and Democrat utilizes ignorant people. Republicans, most of them have businesses. I mean, big business. I was just at a planning committee meeting tonight, and these folks, and out of the words of her mouth, a white woman, we want to build houses for people who are trying to buy, and we just want to build some houses and help them. And we have stipulations. We don't want any junk cars in the yard, and none of all of these stipulations at the outstart. And I'm looking at these people like, where are they getting all this money from? Well, the Democrats behind the door gets a piece of biscuit from the intelligence of the Republican Party and others on how to get these government subsidies to purchase these homes. And now they're doing the same things, but they're creating ghettos. There's a politician who has deliberately set up a family in our community and allowed them to do whatever they want to do. And I believe that he is helping them to find the loopholes to do whatever they want to do. And that's why I rely on God more than anything. He's a liar. And most of them are liars. And they love money. And they love to frighten you. And they will set you up to have you and your family hurt or killed. That's how bad it is. They are sociopaths, psychopaths. They're so numb to the feeling of others that they can look at you and smile. Anything I can do for you now, you let me know now. I'm working on it. I'm working on it now. You don't know if they're telling the truth or not. If an actress or actor tells you that they love you, are they acting or are they telling you the truth? You don't know. So you got to wait out and stress over something that shouldn't even be. This is politics. But I had to live it. God puts me right in the mix of it. The weaker person gets attacked. So I am relying and calling on God, a higher source. If you are real, show me. Because I ain't bowing down to nobody trying to disrupt my family, my home, for their political gain and their financial gain. There's ways out of it. Now let's move on. Let me see. Most of these Republicans utilize Democratic policy. I mentioned this, but most Republicans utilize Democratic policies and utilize people in order to advance their personal and private life. This is all true. You find a lot of Republicans have black people around them, give them a little job, make you think that they're balanced in their thinking. It's a game because they're still in control. What are you saying? Who to vote for? You vote for the Republican that is for the people based upon their words and their actions. You vote for the Democrat who is for the people based on their words and their actions. But we must get out of personality voting. We must get out of generational voting when nothing comes out of it. Over there in Lincoln Park, those roads look like they looked when I was a little boy. You mean to tell me there was never any money to fix little roads in small areas like that? And do the people even know that the road can be fixed? Do they care? And on top of that, with the mindset, when they paved these roads on Sugar Hill and guys started cutting donuts and all of that on their four-wheelers, I talked to them first. Don't tear up the roads. You keep doing it, I'm going to talk to the authorities about it. Because you have no connection to your community, you're part of the problem. But that puts you in a difficult position. I'd love to be able to talk to people and reason together. The scripture says, let us reason together. But in the way society is today, the person who has the most people becomes the bully. There's a way to beat a bully. You can bang out and just kill everything that can be killed. Just be prepared to die, but you can beat a bully. There's no such thing as no way out. There's a way out of any situation. You can beat a politician too. There's a way out of any situation. God says he always opens a way out. I'm not going to say the window thing because I don't know if that's exactly true. But partisan politics is destroying the South. The South has been under a drought for a long time. That's a wake-up call. We in hell. We are in hell. And every dime that people try to keep in their pocket, God is taking it out of their pocket. I was once a very good marijuana salesperson. When I stopped selling marijuana, all the things that I bought with that money, God took it. It's in my book. It's on Amazon under Johnny Wilson, called Few. It's 3 books. All the money that I made, God took it. So I know that he can take it. But the dangers of what's happening in society right now is that our people, Black people, some poor whites, Black people in particular, we're poisoned by things that we never had, positions we never had, titles we never had. And now the true self that is coming out. I think for this political season, we need to tone that down a little bit. And by toning that down, I mean voting out some of these people. They've been in office too long and they are on a power trip. They talk with arrogance. They don't talk about the people. They talk about their family and what they didn't do and did do, but they don't talk about the growth of where we are. And when the people get into an uproar and start asking questions, now it's time for a party or a gathering or a get together. Again, both parties are manipulating government policies with incentives. You mentioned the word poor, sex trafficking, drugs, ghettos, crime, drug addiction. These people have been trained how to go after grants. They write these grants, they build these big churches, they get add-ons to their churches, they get more and more buildings, and then they tell you they're blessed by God. They're blessed, and it's permitted by God, but it ain't necessarily God's doing. I'm going to say that again. They're blessed, and it was permitted by God, but it's not necessarily God's doing. I want to read this real quick. This is 2 Corinthians 11 and 14 of the King James Version of the Bible. And Corinthians is the words of Paul, I think. This is Paul talking. But I want you to hear what Paul said about these things that you see before you and you thinking that all of a sudden these are blessings. This is a game being played. Let's go from 11 to, let's go 2 Corinthians 11 through 14. It says, wherefore, because I love you not, God knoweth. But what I do, that I will do, that I may cut off occasions from them which desire occasions, that wherein they glorify, they may be found even as we. For such are false apostles. Listen, my phone is ringing. Such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. False apostles, deceitful, making themselves, by what they say, apostles of Christ. But check this out. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, the light bearer. So sometimes you think you're looking at God at work. Look at God, look at God. Not necessarily so. All you got to look at is the inner workings and the intentions behind them. And you know whether it was God or devil. Now you either got to man up or woman up and say to yourself, am I strong enough to side with truth? Because truth has a consequence. We're coming to a close, 40 minutes in. Therefore, we're on 15. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministry also be transformed as the ministry of righteousness, who in shall be according to their works. I say again, let no man think me a fool. If otherwise, yet as a fool receive me, that I may boast myself a little. That which I speak it not after the Lord, but as it were foolishly, in this confidence of boasting. See, it's these people that understand how to manipulate government and money. And if you look at them from a distance, you think they're totally blessed. They dress well. They understand the science of driving the best cars. They live well. They do all of their dirt in secret. They are paid. They are able to hide their dirt. They commit adultery too. They got extramarital affairs too. Husbands and wives. I'm talking politicians. Their children steal too. Their children do drugs too. But they know how to hide it. And they got other people in positions who will call them before reporting these crimes. Now you got your children who are going to have a felonious record off top from something they may have mistakenly got involved with or didn't understand the consequences of, but they got a felonious record for the rest of their life. But then you got these politicians, their children, just like Joe Biden's son, he's still working. Y'all so busy running down on Trump. Joe Biden's son admit that he smoked crack. He loved crack. Admit that he's engaged in espionage and the selling of secrets. Admits that he loves prostitutes, that he had sex with them at 1500. But y'all give him a pass because he's a Democrat. That Joe Biden son, that Joe Biden. You give him a pass. But how many of your children are still in prison for the same crime or less? Which means that you will look at another man and feel more sympathy for him than you will feel for your own children that's sick. So we're sick. We are sick people. And anybody who tries to get us well becomes a danger, becomes a threat. I don't want to be well. I want to stay sick. Read 2 Corinthians 11:14 for yourself. We're almost done. I think I just about covered everything. People who say, yeah, I want to put this out there. When you're quiet, you're part of the problem. Martin Luther King said something in that line, and I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I hope I can. Let's see. I'm gonna type it in. Y'all know how I do. Dr. Martin Luther King talks about silence being a sin. I'm gonna see if that'll push it up. If I can find a quote based on that. Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King, and I quote, "A time comes when silence is betrayal. A time comes when being silent is betrayal. You busy talking about the snitch, but silence is betrayal. When you know something is wrong and you let it go, we watch our children go to prison, get addicted to drugs, get caught up in all kind of mess. And then we watch these politicians' children do the same thing and get off. And you think in your mind that they're better. They're not better. Democrats are not better. Republicans are not better. They're no better than gang members, man. Just as violent. if they are not following the code of conduct that they swore before they came into office. All of them, just about all of them, are liars. Just about all of them. And they take pleasure in making fools out of the foolish people. So I wanted to mention that. A person with no shame is a devil. And most of them have no shame. They talk with cocky confidence. But you'll find that when this country wants to destroy a person, like Bill Cosby, like T.D. Jakes, like Puff, they destroy him. We could do that on a lower level. We got to get it to where these politicians respect people, but they don't now. Democrats are Republicans. Most of them has no respect for people. Their family is the most important thing. Look at them. Look at them close. I'm not angry, not at all. Just passionate. Be sure to live in your truth. I'm reading off of the notes that I put down and sent to myself, and I want to close now. Politics is the last trial before the coming of God. That's truth. And religion, politics is the last trial before the coming of God. Because we place all of our trust, our hope, our faith in politics and political figures. We just are banging out for Joe Biden. He's no longer qualified to be a president, in my opinion. He's done so much damage to the Black community as a fact. And the same crimes that he rated Black people as super predators for, his son is now committing. But he don't call his son a super predator. And you all are placated. They make you think it's all right for them to do it, but not you. I listen to Black people talk about Jews and the 6 million Jews who unfortunately died in that horrific Holocaust. And they don't just stop there. They'll say, now I know we went through something as Black people, but the Jews. And I'm saying over 100 million Black people were murdered to 6 million Jewish people. And you still put yourself at the bottom of the totem pole. Shows how much you care for yourself. So politics. We're believing in politics more than we're believing in God. And we're fighting over politics. And you saw just how far politics can go with the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. But I want to play something for you from the Democratic Party and their violent rhetoric, their violent words. And you saw that President Joe Biden said that he's going to stop with the violent words, with the rhetoric. Because as I told you, Democrat blue, Republican red, Bloods red, Crips blue. It ain't no different. Partisan gangs, our way or no way. But in the midst of that is a way. God is the way. And I ain't talking about no milquetoast God, no punk God. I'm talking about a warrior God that says there'll come a time when we got to fight. There'll come a time when we got to die. But it's for the future of our children and for the future of this country, because it's dying. This America is dying its natural death. Its time has been up. I'm going to talk to you. My next commentary will be about the American flag. Betsy Ross sewed it, but I'm going to tell you who designed it. And I'm going to tell you the purpose of each color, each stripe, the blue, the white, everything. Take it or leave it. God willing. I think we're done. So I want to read this in closing, 2 Timothy 3, the dangers of the last days, because I told you we are in the last days. Let's read it. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 9. You should know this, Timothy, that in the last days there will be very difficult times. For people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents and ungrateful. They will consider nothing sacred. They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. They will act religious. But they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that. This is in 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 9. 6, they are the kind who work their way into people's homes and win the confidence of vulnerable women who are burdened with the guilt of sin and controlled by various desires. Such women are forever following new teachings, but they are never able to understand the truth. This is not just talking about the physical women, but it's talking about the feminine nature of men, because men have been made feminine. That's why we're so quick with the trigger. That's why we can't talk and we're rolling our neck and doing all of that extra stuff. Men have been made feminine. So they think that their killing is masculine, but in actuality, violence is the last thing you want. Peace is what you want, but it's already predicted that Satan would tap into the feminine nature of the male and control the feminine nature of the female and make her think that she is the male. The only group of people on the social media talking about not needing a man is Black women with degrees and no sense. Nothing wrong with the degrees. Number 8, these teachers oppose the truth just as Janus and Jambres opposed Moses. They have deprived minds and a counterfeit faith. Deprived minds and counterfeit faith. Deprived. When you're depraved, you do anything. Lay with a man, let a man screw you in your behind. You lay with a dog. You lay with Janus and Jambres are seen on a statue sucking the milk from the nipples of a wolf. Animals. 9, but they won't get away with this for long. Someday everyone will recognize what fools they are, just as with Janus and Jambres. Thinking that you turn to politics, Democrat, Republic, that is your answer. That is not your answer. God is your answer. But you got to find the true and living God and then utilize politics in this world by not becoming of it. So when you vote this time, you look at these crooked behind candidates and their smiles, and you see if they're doing what they say they're going to do. As the time goes on, I'm going to start pointing out some more stuff. As God tells me to do it, I'm going to do it, God willing, if I'm allowed to live. 53 minutes in, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to say this. I'm one who grew up afraid of everything. Because the way parents try to control you back then, they threatened to send you to Bull Street, or they threaten you with the boogeyman and all this stuff. And my soul was so open that I believed in that stuff. So all of my life, I became afraid of everything, afraid to do wrong, afraid of most things because of being frightened by people and the stuff they did. As an adult, a child of God being reborn, I didn't want anything to frighten me. So, I mean, I hope that people don't think that like death frightens me. I'm not afraid of death. I just pray that I'll take that thing that's trying to take my life. I pray that I'll take that and something else that's important to you. Your dog, your baby, your cat. Not accidentally, deliberately. That's how I feel. And that's how I pray God will raise me and keep me that way. That's how I feel. So I don't like things to frighten me. I'm under a death sentence with the operation I had on my heart. I was given 90 days when it first happened. Then I made it through a year. Then I was blessed to make it through a second year. And well, we'll see. And then the third year. Well, this year, you know, the valve is acting kind of funny. It's getting kind of opening not all the way, and it's due to stress and other things. I'm coming to a point in closing. If I'm going to leave this earth, I want to leave it in a better position than I came into it. I find like gangs and politics more of a nuisance than a problem. It's more, I could be doing something else than dealing with this. It's like a nuisance. It's like aggravation. It's like looking at little children. It's sad, but it affects me. It causes me to stress because I look at people who open their heart to wickedness and accept it. And I see their aura change by God's permission. And I see them become evil. And the dangers of the aura of evil is if you kill that physical thing, that energy still gonna go looking for another host. So you're perplexed. You don't know what to do, how to do it, how to react to things. But I don't want fear to beat me. So traveling is something I'm not supposed to do because of my condition, riding on lawnmowers or anything that vibrate. But I did take a ride on a motorcycle, and I came to town, and I had a plan. I was hydrated. I was feeling okay, and I'm gonna post the pictures up later. And I went to Duke's to get me something to eat because I hadn't eaten, and I had planned to eat in Duke's, but he didn't have any tables or chairs in there. So I said, well, I'm going to ride on down. I felt pretty good then. I said, I'm going to ride on down and see if Tion Wilson, Boozy Boo, and see if he was home because he had just had the back to school event and I was trying to get back in time, but I missed it. So I said, if he's outside, I'm going to say something. If he's not, I'm going to keep going. But he was outside. And so I stopped. Long story short, we talked for about an hour. Very good conversation. And then something hit me all of a sudden. And I said, man, I need to sit down. And usually I can shake it off after I sit down. But when I sat down, I felt the angel of death coming to take me. I felt it. And I asked Boozy, I said, hey, you got some cold water? He was very calm. He went inside. Man, I don't have no cold water, but he brought me a cranberry juice. And I thought maybe my sugar level was too high. So I said, man, this might be messing with my sugar. I said, you got anything else? And he went very calm, got, I think, a bottle of water, a little bit of water. He said, hey, you want me to call the ambulance? I said, nah, don't call the ambulance. The whole time I'm thinking, Boozy's mother died and he saw her die from a heart attack. And I didn't want to die on his step, but I was sitting on the step and Boozy was saying, hey man, I got the truck, it's cranked. All I need you to do is get in the truck. You're sweating so bad, get in the truck. And it's hurting me now that I'm talking about it, man. I'm fighting back tears with it. I said, man, I can't move. I can't get up. And I said, just call my people, because it just so happens that my friend was down at Duke's and my sister, Pastor Fulton, was down at Duke's, and John Fulton, my brother-in-law, was down at Duke's. They had just left church. And Boozy Tion sent his daughter in the big black truck, his tow truck. He said, go down there and get his sister and get it. And she went down there and she did her best, man. And I'm sitting there and I'm sweating and I closed my eyes and I felt my heart beating slower and slower. This is the God's honest truth. And my sister didn't realize the severity of it. She thought she was coming down there just to speak, so she didn't come right away. But when she got down there, she thought I was dead. I looked like death. She touched my arm and she said, my sister is a registered, she takes oxygen. That's her profession. She went to school for it, but she gave all of that up for ministry. And she felt me and she felt how cold I was. She knew what was happening. She knew. And my brother-in-law came up because my eyes were closed and I was peaceful with it, death. And he hit me on my face. He said, open your eyes, man. Open your eyes. You got to open your eyes. You got to get up. And he literally made me get up. Literally. My tongue was swollen in my mouth and totally white. I was dehydrated. It was bad. They called the ambulance. The ambulance picked me up from Boosie's house. He was so calm about it all, man. Him, his wife, his daughter. I respect them for that, for the way they handled things. And I was going to stay calm. And I stayed calm. I wasn't afraid of going, you know, because I've seen it before, you know. And man, that was a rough one. I'm going to post up some pictures about it. But my point with that is you never know when your time is going to come. You don't know the day or the hour. And you can't wait for the last minute to try to do what's right. You're always going to be under trial. There's always going to be something that tests you. Nobody likes the truth. The Bible said it. Truth is a rare thing. And if you're telling the truth, you're hated amongst the people because you're taking something from them. But the truth of the matter is, the people are in control. And all God is waiting on us to do is to act like it. And anything in our way will be removed. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said a day will come when we will have crooked politicians on the back of trucks riding down the street as we throw bricks and bottles at them for the disrespect that they showed to the people, for the lies. They don't believe that day will ever come. So they're confident in their wickedness that appears to be righteous, some of them. But here's my warning to politics and politicians, especially in small towns. You can't hide it forever. It's going to eventually show its face. And the sickness of the people and the tiredness of the people will reflect in what they do to you. I thank you all for tuning in. We're going to be talking politics for a while, I think. So everything that I talk about from here on out will have a political overtone to it. But remember, Democrats, they're taking advantage of the people through subsidies. Republicans already have their businesses lined up, but they utilize Democratic tactics in order to get money. You wonder where all this money comes from? They juggle the money. There's money for this and that, but they say, oh man, forget them N-words. They ain't worth nothing. In closing, I want to play for you a clip of Democrats and how they talk about punching people in the face and how they talk about doing harm and bodily harm, and then we're going to close.
Something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right, to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
That's it right there, pull it up.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
And there you have it. I said in my commentary 1500, referring to the White House, but it's 1600. But those are all Democrats. You heard their violent overtone. shoot Trump, shoot him in the face, punch people in the face. They're violent. But they act like they are the nonviolent ones. This is the political party, Democrats, that we join in hopes of no longer being lynched and mistreated and cheated. And now they're doing the same things that white folks did to us: murder, crime, trickery, debauchery. They're doing it, some of them. Vote very wisely this time. I hope this came out. I hope they didn't play around with my feed. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Jameer Salib, Zamir Manning, South Carolina.